Hi, when is it a good time to protect your trademark, to register your trademark? First, I would say that when you start a business, if you don't register the trademark, you risk infringing on someone else's right, meaning that you might build your brand and your business for a long time before you discover that you have infringed on someone else's right. Then you can have consequences like being shut down on social media, on your website, other platforms. And you also risk to be sued if you made some money, if you're a big business. If you're a small business, they will probably just ask you to not use the brand because it's already well known. And another problem is that if you start using a brand name for a long time and it's not, you can't protect it as a trademark later on, you also build it for no reason. And the common mistake when people choose a trademark is that they take a name that's very descriptive. Like if they're working with healthcare, for instance, then they will call it the healthcare business. And you can't do that because it's too descriptive. So many people will use the same kind of name for the same kind of business. And even if you would get the trademark for a descriptive name, because sometimes it's difficult to judge if this is descriptive or not, you know, it's on the border, you know. And if you get the name, even if it is descriptive, it's a weak protection, what they call it. It's like to have a strong protection for your brand is to have a name that nobody else have in the same kind of business. So if you look at the big brands, for instance, you look at Google, doesn't mean anything until Google came along. You look at Coca-Cola, it doesn't say anything about it being a brown soda drink. You look at Apple, doesn't have anything with fruit to do. So as long as the name isn't connected to what you do, what product or service you have, you can protect it if it's available. And to know if it's available, you need to do, you can start to do a Google search for it and just see if it's available that way. But you also need to check in the trademark databases. And for the US, the database is called TESS. And for Europe, it's TMU. And it doesn't really matter where in the world you are because you can look globally at trademarks on those two databases. So if you do a search, you see it's available, then there's also another problem with the trademark, and it's that sometimes people don't get help to make a logo. They go into some platform and make a logo out from a template. And then you also have the problem, it might be too similar to another brand and infringe in that, right? So you won't get it protected. So that's like common mistakes I've seen, and also that people take a name that's similar to something that already exists and then you can't register to trademark. So knowing all of this, if we're now going back to discuss when is it good time to protect your trademark, I would say as soon as possible, because it doesn't cost, it costs you, I mean, it depends on what country you are, right? But in Sweden, to register a trademark is like maybe $500, $1,000. Even if you get help, it's not more than like $2,000 maybe. And it's very cheap if you consider the time and money it will cost you if your brand gets stolen from someone else, or if you infringe in someone else's right and have to start rebuilding from zero again. So I highly recommend to get a trademark as soon as possible when you're sure about your name of the business and you're like that you're going to take it outside of, like if you're taking it online, you really need it. And but to do it, you can do some of it by yourself. I mean, you can do the searches as I talked about and make sure that it's a name that can be protected. There's like a lot of information on intellectual property office websites But when it comes to the classification of your goods and services, I would advise you to get help, because that's difficult. And if you get it wrong, the protection is really not good. It's even sometimes maybe useless, because you protect it in that area. Like if you have clothes, it's a classification for clothes, right? And if you have services, like if you're making sales, there's a classification for that. It's class 35. And if you have, so you need to put it in the right class, or you will not be protected, because names and goods can coexist with the same name, but in different classes. So make sure you get help and get legal advice from in your country. So most intellectual property rules are kind of global, but there is some laws that differ a little bit, and the processes for it. So this cannot be considered legal advice. You need to take help professionally closer, but I can help to guide you how much you can prepare of your trademark all by yourself, because that's the same globally. And then you need help from someone locally for legal advice to do the last parts. So if you like this, follow me. You will get more information about intellectual property. I will talk about trademarks and copyright. I also are going to address some tools that you can use if you're in the music business to get your music out, and how to build a business around your brand. Subscribe to my channel, and please comment if you have any questions. Bye for now.